I went to USC. I was in a dorm as my home state is about 17 hours from there. Every night would end the same with me finishing class work or editing videos for a little bit of side money for YouTubers or kids who post to Instagram. Every night I would. It was all the same every night. There was one night, though, I will never forget. I was showering, and I heard my front door creak open as it always did when it would open to a certain point. I quickly turned off my shower and listened for any sounds. Not a sound. I had my phone on the sink and I decided best thing to do is call one of my buddies. I called him and he answered. He sounded very sluggish and like he didn't want to go anywhere, but as soon as I told him what I heard, it was almost like you could hear his eyes open over the phone. He set his phone down and got close and then returned to the phone and started talking to me. Then I heard a loud crash of what sounded like a piece of metal. This was weird to me as I didn't have very many things in my dorm that were made of metal. My friend asked me what had happened and I told him I had no clue. I heard his front door open over the phone and then he said, "He's be right up." I hear loud footsteps coming down the hallway that sounded like a jog. I quickly dried off, threw my clothes on and received a text from my friend. He said, "I'm outside your door. It's wide open and I hear heavy breathing." I reply, "Throw the door open and I will come out." As I hear the door hit, I prepared myself by the door handle to be sure I do as I told him. I hear the door hit the wall and I throw the door open. I see nothing. My friend looks at me and then looks around the room. The room was untouched. We look around the room and find nothing. With both our eyes still wide open, we walk down to his room for the night and I decide to sleep there. We wake up the next morning and we go to check my room one more time. We open the door and this time my pillows and blankets were thrown across my floor. We pick up the blankets and pillows before noticing that there was scratches on the wall that had never been there before. We got campus security and they checked our room and figured it was us just messing with them and saying that we would need to pay for the damages. Luckily, my friend and I had talked him into believing us and he called some local ghost hunters. Nothing about them was professional and they found no evidence. Me and my friend to this day never forget what happened in dorm room 327 on USC. I think it was sophomore year of college in freezing New Hampshire. My buddy told me he broke into the abandoned school theater, the Ravencroft. It was getting demolished soon because it had some mold inside. It a shame. It was perched on the side of the hill entering the school. It was definitely falling apart though. The windows were cracked and the wood's paint was chipping. It was midnight. Andrew, my friend, kicked at the top of the door on the side of the theater. Nothing, he kicked again, and it flew open. Inside the stage, we walked right in it. Looking up at us from the audience was props and left behind junk from theater. The floor of the stage had holes in it, huge gaping ones. If you didn't open your eyes you'd fall right through to the understage. Well, Patrick, my friend smoking a joint, thought it was a great idea to look around in the dark. He was a scrawny dude, a twig figure. He swayed as he walked. You could hear him trudging his feet into the stage floor until nothing but a yelp and loud crash. The few of us in the audience ran up on stage looking with our flashlights, lighting the way with our cell phones. But that's when we heard banging, a loud banging from below, like someone was punching the wall, and we felt it shake the wall. The basement door swung open on the theater below, and a man went running, sprinting across the field. The moon was full and it glared off the shiny snow. Pat's voice rang out. What was that? But I thought more likely who was that and why. Were they in the theater in the dead of winter? We went down and picked up Pat and noticed the old dressing rooms. Some still had props and costumes hanging out. We walked around in one group, looking at the dilapidated hallway, and that's when we felt a cold breeze blow. We saw a room with a portable heater and a bed. On the bed were papers with doodles and cursive writing. Under the bed, a dead rabbit, its stomach gutted and its eyes popped like a stress tone. We looked out in the snowy night and saw just footsteps. But we were sure he was watching from afar, so we left. 2 months later, the theater was demolished, and we never saw the dweller again. I wonder if he found another plane to dwell, eat rabbits, and watch college students. When I moved into my first flat with my roommate, we were both pissed as the guy had essentially told us it was a 2-minute walk to campus, when it was a 5-minute drive. So, we usually stayed in whenever possible, and when friends came over, they usually decided to stay the night to avoid walking home alone. When we finished unpacking most of our boxes, we started putting things into cupboards. My roommate, let's call her Anna, had a big pile of books in her arms, and she opened a floor-to-ceiling closet to put them in. She opened the door and screamed. There was a giant Christmas tree in the cupboard, so big you couldn't see the bat. She was really shocked, and I know it doesn't sound scary, but it was mid-July, and this thing was in perfect condition, and enormous. It took us the remainder of the day lugging it downstairs to the trash, as we were really starting to be creeped out. A couple of months passed, where we finished unpacking and made it home. Then, one day, I was sleeping in my room. I started hearing this rough scratching, and woke up and saw the Christmas tree in the corner of my room. We don't know if someone had moved it in. There were no scratches on the floor like we had left when we threw it out. We called the landlord and said we were leaving and the house would be empty by next week.